This episode is dedicated to a friend called Sam, who is currently fighting for his life on a ventilator in an induced coma in hospital. With all of the news, we have accepted COVID as normal. People are contagious, people are dying, and people are complaining about wearing masks and washing their hands. Ryan's friend is fighting for his life on a ventilator. This is real life. Stop complaining about masks and money. People are dying. Do your part. Visit www.propertycrashcourse.com to learn more. It's 100% free. Hey everyone, I'm Ryan's show producer Adam, and we want all these episodes to impact you the most to move the needle in your business. So, before we get into today's episode, let me share Ryan's backstory to give you the confidence you may need to apply these unlocks. Ryan Otto knew he was an entrepreneur since he was 11 years old. And since 2016, an ex-convict who lost everything after discovering his now ex-wife had an affair, he lost his home, children, and all the wealth he had built up when he was sentenced to nearly 5 years in prison for a crime carried out by a lifelong friend, and found himself in maximum security prison alongside some of the country's most dangerous and high-profile criminals. He turned this horrendous negative situation into a positive one. Trained to become a Samaritan, meaning his time in prison away from his family was spent helping other inmates who were contemplating and even had attempted suicide in custody. Ryan left custody with £175,000 worth of debt and has gone on to build a multi-million pound portfolio in property, with his fourth hotel acquired since April 2020 during the pandemic and recession, with residential and commercial investment properties in the UK and Malta. Looking back, Ryan was nothing special. In fact, he was not academic in any way, and being a mixed-race teenager in a small town, crippled with dyslexia meant he was shy, and left school with more criminal records for petty crimes like joyriding fast cars and motorbikes than GCSEs. At 11 years old, he immediately knew that he was an entrepreneur when his mother took him to a Booker Cash and Carry in Hastings, and he discovered he could buy push pops in bulk, on his mother's account of course, for 5p and sell them for 50p, making a huge profit. His mother always said Ryan could sell their own Sam back to the Arabs. In this episode, you will find value in a variety of talks, tactics and breakthroughs, strategies, unlocks and interviews around business, property investment, entrepreneurship, the hotel business and real life. It's these exact unlocks Ryan shares in these episodes that are responsible for turning his life around, and anybody listening to these episodes can do the same. It's taken Ryan 20 years of failures and success, cost him nearly 5 years in prison, to bring you these experiences that you will hear in these episodes. Please do spend the 60 seconds to leave Ryan a podcast review and a rating, because your review is the fuel that keeps Ryan delivering these episodes. Thank you.
Hey podcasters, I hope everybody is good. I hope that you're navigating these, uncharted waters, these lockdowns, unlockdown, opened, lockdown, all of these shenanigans that's going on right now. Obviously, some of us refer to it as shenanigans, but it's not shenanigans if, you've lost a loved one or a family member or a close friend or someone suffering with coronavirus. And just thinking about that right now, I actually know somebody who's on life support right now with coronavirus, only young, around their 30s, just a young guy. And I used to see him 3, 4, 5 times a week. And one day I went into his cafe, restaurant, and just asked, where is Sam? Where's Sam? Sam literally had a week off for Christmas, and during his week off he contracted coronavirus, and it didn't just come and go, or mild symptoms. It went all in and all out, and he's actually in an induced coma on life support now, on a ventilator. So this is giving me goosebumps right now just thinking about it. It's so close when you think that it's not going to happen to you, or is it really as bad as they say, or has the media blown it out of proportion, etc. I've actually seen the effects of it with somebody that close actually having it. My children had it, but they just literally had temperature, very mild, didn't feel very well for a week or 2 weeks, and then had some gradually the illness went away, and they just felt a little bit weak over like a month or 6 weeks or so, but nothing too dramatic in that sense compared to obviously now another friend who's actually contracted it on life support, like I said, on a ventilator. I mean, it's very bad, it's very serious. Talking about coronavirus, wow, I'm on this subject now. We had a scare, another scare of coronavirus. I mean, God, yeah, it was a scare. We've got some buildings that we're renovating right now, a renovation project. Another building that we bought during the lockdown. Now, we've got a team of men working. Excuse me. We got a team of men working at the site. Everything, gutting the building, putting kitchens in, ripping the ceilings down. Then there's plastering. Then there's painting. Then there's furnishing. Then there's lots and lots of other things. And obviously, it's quite a big project, especially right now, to manage and navigate with things closed and social distancing and all the men living in the house in a bubble and everything else. And it's definitely challenging times. And not too long ago at all, we had a tenant who was actually due to move into the property, and they came for a viewing. One of the guys conducted the viewing, literally just for, I say conducted the viewing. They came for the viewing just, randomly. Excuse me. And we weren't actually there. So one of the builders came downstairs. They've all been working in independent rooms, so they're more or less isolating anyway, just being safe, wearing masks. They've all got like a room each that they're living in and working in a room separately. And one of them came down just to open the door, and the guy was like, obviously, I just thought I'd pop by, to see how the property's going, and, is the studio ready? And then the builder was just like, okay, well, I don't really know much about it, but, somebody else will come back to you. And the guy that wanted to pop by was like, well, it's okay, it's only this studio just here right at the front, so, I'll just poke my head in there, have a little look. So obviously the guy steps back, the builder, lets his tenant just poke their head in the door to have a little look, which is the first door as soon as you go in on the left, the first door. So he's poked his head in, had a little look. Obviously the builder is maintaining... Excuse me. I always yawn when I'm podcasting in the car for some reason. Always. I'm not yawning at all until I start the podcast. Start the podcast and I just start yawning. Anyway, I think it's a bit of the sun, I'm not too sure. Or the trapped air in the car. So then he says, I'll just poke my head in. So he pokes his head in and has a little look inside the room. Obviously the builder's social distancing, he has a mask on, he's standing relatively far away, definitely more than 2 meters, and the guy leaves after, I don't know, a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes at the most, so he's gone. Then a couple of days later, we get a phone call from the tenant who says, there's something I want to tell you. It's a bit like, I've never had this before, but it's a bit like that call when, I've never had this before. This has never happened to me or anybody that I know. But what I'm saying is, it's a bit like, for example, a man calls a girl that they've been dating, or a girl calls a man that, they've dated in the past, and they say, it's a very uncomfortable call, just giving you a ring to say, I caught an STD, for argument's sake. And then you have to ring that person and ring the list of girlfriends or boyfriends that you've had. And if you're promiscuous, then, that list is endless. And then you ring them just to tell them the bad news, which is a very, very difficult call to make. I've never made that. I'm just, paraphrasing and just, understand what happens in those circles. Anyway, so we get this phone call, and he says, just to let you know, I'm not feeling too good. I feel like I've got symptoms of coronavirus. This isn't the builder that's working for us. This is the person viewing the studio. So, excuse me again. He rings and says, very difficult call to make. I've got some symptoms. I'm not feeling too good. I'm going to get a test later today, a coronavirus test. So we're like, shit, panicking, thinking, oh my God, the guy's been in, the entrance to the building. He was there, I don't know, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. How far away was our builder? Did he shake his hand? Did he have a mask on? Did he touch anything? Did he, how close was he? All of those questions and concern starts running through your mind. The tenant is confident. I didn't really come in. I just poked my head through the door. I had a mask on. He had a mask on. We didn't touch anything. We didn't shake hands. I don't know the guy. He's social distancing. He's over 2 meters or maybe more than 2 meters away. It was just in the hallway. It's very narrow anyway, so he stepped back and I just poked my head into the door. He was at the bottom of the stairs, etc. So I'm confident that he hasn't actually, contracted it. So I've got a test, and I'll let you know the results. Okay, so we're all nervous and worried and started to, isolate the guy. The guy stayed away. The builder, he started to isolate in one of our other buildings away from everybody else. Then, the next day, the tenant gets the test results back and he is positive. He's positive for coronavirus. Now we're all worried even more, thinking, oh my God, he's definitely got it. Now everybody in the building, on the job, is starting to worry, and everyone's panicking. They're ringing their partners, they're ringing their family, they're ringing their wives. Their wives are saying, oh my God, you can't continue, you're gonna have to leave the job, you can't carry on, health is more important than money. And all of those questions and answers and concerns and thoughts and challenges and everything else that comes with it when you think you've been in contact with somebody who has also been in contact with somebody else who has actually tested positive for coronavirus 2 days before. So understandably, all of those questions and concerns are running through your mind. Anyway, so we isolate one of the people. We make sure everybody else is, separated, and we ask them all questions and make sure they're wearing masks and nobody's coming in the building. And we put new tactics and strategies and measures and everything in place to safeguard everybody else, because they are key workers working on this construction site. Then the other person's isolating. We book a test for the builder, who's isolating, who's the only one who's been in the same room as the person who tested positive for coronavirus. And then we wait for the results. We've got bated breath. We're all nervous. We're all concerned. They're still isolating, and everyone's isolating. And he doesn't come to work, and the builder can't come to work, and everything else. And then we're all worried. And then we get the results back. And guess what the results are? Negative. The results are negative. So we make sure that a few of us have had the coronavirus test as well, just to make sure it hasn't been, brought into the building. No one's got it. So we had to test, and it's a massive relief. A massive relief. I mean, the first builder, he did have some very, very mild symptoms, but he's just had the flu jab. So he's had the flu jab like a week or 10 days ago, so he's got some little symptoms anyway. A little sniffly nose, feeling a little bit drained, a little bit achy, a little bit fluey. Nothing like a temperature, nothing like loss of smell or taste, and nothing like a cough, which comes with the typical symptoms of coronavirus. So everybody's relieved. Everybody, obviously, our team has now had a coronavirus test. Everybody's happy. Everybody's confident. Everyone is back to work. Everyone has got more strict with what they're doing, even though we were strict anyway. The weakest link was this person just turning up and the front door happening to be unlocked to the site, which nobody else would know or approach the building to come in, because they just wouldn't know what's going on in there. It just looks like a normal building that you walk past. So that's the only reason. So that was the weakest link. So now we've changed things, changed procedures, changed what we're doing. Signs on the windows. Everybody knows the rules and regulations. Nobody can come in. Everybody has to wear a mask, and we're keeping that bubble down to a minimum. But it's that close, guys, this coronavirus. It's that close. It really is. You think it's not going to happen to you. You think it's not going to happen to me. You think that you don't know anybody on a ventilator. Is this really real? Is it really that bad? It is that bad. It is that contagious. It is real. It is ruining lives, and it is in your street. It's that simple. So take all the precautions you can, and just be careful to not contract it first of all, and not be a super spreader and pass it around. I hope you got some value from this episode. I would love to hear your thoughts.
He's a #1 Amazon bestseller. He's an NLP manipulator. He's a property course seller. He's a Lamborghini driving multi-millionaire property guru. Forget that same old boring I am me narcissistic podcast format, because nobody gives a fuck. This podcast is all about you. So I'm taking these few seconds to thank you for subscribing, to thank you for leaving your 5-star reviews, and thank you for sharing this show with all of your friends. My team and I will keep bringing you these episodes and answering all of your burning questions in my Facebook community group called Property Crash Course. If you can just keep telling all of your friends about this show.